Thank you very much. This is our final session now. It's going to be brief, much briefer than anticipated and announced in the program, which is why I'm starting to relax a little bit about the timing now. Having been quite anal about it all day, I admit, and for which I apologise. But I hope you've had plenty of opportunities for conservations and discussions outside of this room over a cup of tea or a cold drink. Cold drinks, I gather, are quite popular today in this weather. I want to say really last but not least, so we had really planned to have two keynote speakers, Lucimara at the beginning to set the scene and talk to us about what regenerative development actually means to regenerative practice, and then Ineza Umuhoza Grace to wrap it all up and give us an overview of what this means in a global context in relation to some other really big things that influence our way of living and way of working. Ineza, unfortunately, can't be with us today. She was going to be here in person, and we tried our best to get her here. In the end, it wasn't possible, and sort of almost as a last-minute thing, she recorded a little video for us. Until 2 days ago, she was still prepared to give a full presentation in person. It's going to be a video now, not the 20-minute presentation that we'd originally booked her in for, but only about 7 minutes, which is why I'm relaxing about the time a little bit. We're going to play that from video in a minute, but I just want to introduce her, of course. Ineza is the Chief Executive Officer of the Green Protector and the coordinator of the Loss and Damage Youth Coalition. And in 2023, 2 years ago, she won the Global Citizen Prize. She's incredibly active across the entire planet, based in Rwanda, born in Rwanda and living in Rwanda. But a couple of weeks ago, she was in the United States for a big conference. And like I said, we're very disappointed that she can't be here in person. But we're going to play that video of her contribution now. And also, Ineza is going to run a workshop tomorrow at the World Museum. Many of you are booked onto it. It's fully booked, in fact. And she will be live on screen. So the workshop we're still intending to hold the workshop. The room is fully hybrid enabled, and she will be live on screen. And then also, as part of that, perhaps able, although I realized only for a selected audience of those people in the workshop, but able to respond perhaps to questions and any thoughts you might have as a result of seeing her contribution.
Muraho neza. Greetings from Rwanda, a land of 1,000 hills, although I feel like it's more than that. Being invited to be a keynote speaker at the International Conference on Museum, when the theme is on Regenerative Museum for a Sustainable Future, it's a big honor, especially for a little girl that is inside me that loves nature and its people. In my life, if I'm being honest, I never thought that museum is something that concerned me. Maybe it's something that is rooted from the passive negative impact of colonialism, when most of our culture practices are displayed in international room, and back home efforts were driven to cut the roots of our history. I visited the museum for the first time when I was in the second year of university. I was so sad and disappointed in myself after failing my driving license test. Not to sound bad, but we Capricorn, we do have a tendency to do everything extra. I wanted to be alone, and because my university was located in Huye district, where we have one of our national museums, so I chose to go to the National Museum. At my biggest surprise, that was the moment that I learned a lot about my culture, my people, my country, I mean the history before colonialism. Don't get me wrong, it's not to say that we don't have history classes, but when you are in the museum, the visualization kind of add a little bit more depth to it. So after that, life happened, and I found myself deeply passionate in the protection of the environment with a keen focus on the elevation of the frontline voices, especially women, children, young people, for them to be active stakeholders in the effort to achieve the climate justice. What started as a commitment to serve my country and its people was elevated to serve the global community and the planet. Because the climate crisis is the most cross-boundary crisis that we are facing. For the climate crisis to come at your door, it does not need a visa or a passport. In this space, after learning that developing countries that did less to the contribution to the greenhouse gas emission, which is the main driver to the climate crisis that we are living today, are the ones who are bearing the burden of the climate crisis when the world leaders are choosing not to take action. It's faster to learn how the climate justice is rooted in the post-colonial effect because developed countries are still willing to do the business as usual by causing more pain to developing countries. In practice, the decisions were taken without us being in the room. Once we get the seat in the room, the working language was English or another so-called official language. Once we learn how to speak this language, we were told that we do not have proper education system in our country. And once our country have robust education system, we were told that what we are promoting and doing is indigenous practice. And when we fight back for our right, they never fail to invent new drama that will fit their ego. As my country history is linked with colonialism, I can say that we are still facing the post-colonial effect even today. Because most of the finance that is promised to our country as aid is usually turned into conditionality, making them loans. And then on the top of that, we are facing climate crisis that are stealing the development of our country, and we are losing our GDP. And when that happens, we do not have a single institution ready to directly support our country, which translated to our country being more prone to debts and leaving a debt legacy to the next generation. Where does the hope for a sustainable future lies? When will the world leaders take concrete action? I can say that conferences like this are one of the many that give hope. You might ask yourself why. The recognition of the richness of human culture and practice of the community in the protection of the planet by allowing the people to regain their identity is critical. Museums all over the world hold the richness of our history. It's not a lie that once you know your history, you are more encouraged to fight for your dignity because you can feel the connection with your ancestor, and that is priceless. Learning on how the museum can strengthen the connection of humanity with nature in the context of socio-environmental degradation, the role of the museum to co-create a sustainable future for the next generation, and the role of the museum in the context of social justice to care about the people and the planet, this is the start of a new phase. Learning about other people's cultural heritage, languages, practice, and principle is a critical step to help the humanity be connected. Hence, the element of just inclusion can be disseminated in a wider audience. For example, you can tell my story of Ineza, who comes from Rwanda, a Kinyarwanda-speaking country located in Al-Kebulan, known as Africa, with a population that has a principle rooted in serving the greater good for a common purpose, way before colonists came to their land to act as if they own it. Then you tell another story from a young person from Malawi, Fiji, Barbados, Kenya, Egypt, and in no time, we will all be redefining global solidarity for our planet and its people. Museums around the world are the first step to learn on how we as humans, we are connected, offering tools to the current and the next generation to learn on how to stand together in solidarity, respect, and understanding in addressing the current crisis that we are facing. Because what we see on the news as geopolitical crisis is often rooted much more deeper. Museums on the national and international level, they are important because they serve as tools to help us to learn on how to effectively engage for the greater good for our planet and its people.
Thank you, Ineza. It is a true shame that she's not here to discuss this with us now. A very powerful message about the links between climate change, colonial structures, and social inequalities globally, really, which is, I guess, some of the things that we're battling with on a local level. A lot of us. I've got some very hastily pulled together closing remarks. So you're going to have to put up with me just for a few more minutes whilst I try and make sense of these loose sheets of paper. But I'm going to start with this conference is obviously not about me, but I'd like you to bear with me because I want to explain a little bit the motivation for this conference. Those of you who know me know that sustainability has always been really close to my heart. I've done many things over what feels like a really long life now to support the planet and its people, both as an advocate, but also practically, and both in my private life and my working life. I started out as a wee little 16-year-old lad doing what today is called activism, although I was usually, and I won't go any further into that, more on the campaigning side rather than the activist side, trying to persuade people to do what seemed holistically good for them, their cohabitants on this planet, and the ecosystems in which they live. Working at local level and moving around the planet, not just traveling, but literally moving from country to country. It was obvious that very, very quickly that the issues facing us are shared and global. It was therefore a small step to get involved in international collaborations, and I learned and continue to learn from colleagues and friends all over the world, and that includes today as well. I've learned a huge amount today. Working in museums and then joining ICOM was like a revelation for me because there's this ready-made network of people with tons of experience and similar interests to mine. So I've always felt very much at home at ICOM. Having the opportunity then to organize a conference on sustainability and mutual exchange of experiences in an international sphere, well, I felt like a little child in a sweet shop. But there are undoubtedly some really big challenges. And many of these challenges we face as a global museum community relate to climate change, societal changes, colonial structures, and deep, deep inequalities. We didn't today, apart from Mohsen, didn't really talk very much about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but these obviously underlie very much the work of ICOM Sustain, our youngest international committee in the ICOM community. And I'm very happy that so many of the ICOM Sustain members are here today. In the face of all these challenges, I'm fascinated by the many examples from around the world of how museums contribute to positive solutions. And just to kind of recap on some of those really amazing solutions which achieve substantial change in their communities. Esme gave us examples of museums in the UK building international relationships for repair and healing. Mamdouh explained the challenges posed to museums by the impacts of climate change and how we attempt to adapt to them. Then Sonia and Naila gave us examples of museums creating green zones in response to the loss of green spaces outside of the museums. Victoria informed us that there is a lot of evidence of eco-museums shifting the emphasis to community working. And Sadhu explained how museums use heritage management, especially of intangible heritage, for economic development. And this was reflected by Arafat as well, who spoke about integrating indigenous knowledge, and continued by Ibrahim delighting us with these amazing structures and his presentation on preserving traditional and indigenous knowledge. So I feel I'm very happy that we managed to combine so much expertise today from all over this planet in this room here. We had speakers today from Brazil, from Australia, the USA, Bangladesh, Benin, Egypt, Iran, Rwanda, and of course the UK. Our delegates traveled from as far afield as Armenia and Pakistan just to be here with us today. So we have an audience, way beyond the UK here, which I think is probably also perhaps not the first. That sounds very definite, but I'm not quite sure on that. ICAM UK. To all of you, my heartfelt thanks, and I absolutely mean that. I'm very happy that we managed to fill this room here today. I also want to thank the members of the conference working group. I wonder if you could just all stand up for a minute, and you deserve a big round of applause. Where are we? It is those of you who've organised the conference before know that this is a mammoth job and a massive team effort. So thank you very much for all your support in the last few months. I also want to thank our venue, the Spine, and especially the tech team at the back there and the catering team as well for looking after us today and making sure everything ran smoothly. And of course, our partners and supporters, Naura Associates, Barker Langham, the British Council, National Museum Directors Council, National Museums Liverpool, and University of Liverpool University Museums. And lastly, I also want to thank those of you following this conference online today. The sessions today were being recorded, and we'll make them available on the ICAM UK website shortly. So that is that. I've got a few announcements now still to make, some organizational stuff. For those of you who are still with us tomorrow, I just need to give you a few pieces of information. If you're booked on any of the workshops, the workshop sheets are just outside this room, and if you can't remember which workshops you were booked on, we can remind you. If you're not quite sure how to get to the venues, there are two principal venues. One is the World Museum, where 2 concurrent workshop sessions are running, and the World Museum is literally all the way down the hill. But we can help you with the wayfinding to the World Museum. The Victoria Gallery Museum, where the third set of workshops are happening, is a 5-minute walk from here. And depending on which route we take, we're literally actually walking past it on the way to the Museum of Liverpool, where we're going after this session. So if anybody is interested in some wayfinding, I'm happy to walk down the route. I'm going to be walking down there. And I'll be happy to walk down the route that goes past the Victoria Gallery Museum. The locations of the workshops are also marked. There's an interactive map as part of your delegate pack. So if you go in your delegate pack and click on the link to the Google Maps, in there are pins, essentially, as they're called, that take you directly to each of the venues. Curator-led tours as well. We still have places for the tours that are offered both at the World Museum and at the Walker Art Gallery. We're offering altogether 4 tours, 2 in each venue, of the Egypt collections, the entomology collections at the World Museum, and then at the Walker Art Gallery, 1 tour with an emphasis on paintings and the other tour with an emphasis on sculpture. If you're interested on those and you haven't booked on them yet, the sheets are also, are they, Katie, where are you? Are they outside, or have you got them, or have I got them here? We've got them somewhere. Okay. We've got them outside the room. So you're welcome to have a look at those. If you're going on any of the guided city walking tours, the meeting point is outside the entrance to the World Museum, where Xiao Du will, if you just stand up for a minute, so Xiao Du will be there to meet you, just to make sure you're in the right place, essentially, and the tour guide will be there as well at the allocated times. A note on luggage: if you were leaving Liverpool tomorrow afternoon, but had to move out of the hotel in the morning, and you don't know what to do with your luggage, unfortunately, we don't, because the locations tomorrow are obviously all over the city, we don't have a dedicated luggage storage facility. But if you have a chat with your hotel, they're usually happy to hold luggage for a few hours until people actually depart. Alternatively, there are lockers available at both the World Museum and the Walker Art Gallery as well. Lastly, just an ICOM UK thing, final reminder that we are currently looking for new trustees, and if you're interested, please grab one of the board members. Board members, can I just ask you to stand up a minute as well? Okay, thank you. Yes. And Neris as well. So please, and Robert, yes, please come and grab one of us for a chat if you're interested, and we're welcome to, we'd be very happy to help you. So after this now, and I appreciate, obviously, we're a little bit earlier than anticipated, but I'm sure that is not a problem. We're going to make our way down to the Museum of Liverpool for the evening receptions. There will be drinks and nibbles, fairly substantial nibbles. We're aiming to finish there. Well, we're going to be kicked out of the building at 8 o'clock. That is the agreement. It is entirely possible to have dinner very close by in the Arbor Dock or in the city centre. But the food we're getting at the Museum of Liverpool as part of the evening reception will be reasonably substantial. We're going to hear from our partners, Barker Langham, and also about some news about the new Ukraine decolonization guide, as well as, obviously, you will have an opportunity to have a look around the galleries there without all the public getting in the way, There's also a bus that leaves literally outside this building, the number 79, that will take you to Liverpool 1 bus station. That's the bus you're looking for, 79 to Liverpool 1. And from Liverpool 1, it's a 5-minute walk to the Museum of Liverpool. I'm being reminded to also thank Blue Loop and, sorry, Catherine. And Regenera Museo. Okay, of course. I'm really sorry. Sorry, Lucimar. Of course. Blue Loop are also, just a few weeks actually, signed up as partners to this conference. I'm very sorry to overlook that. So, without further ado, thank you very much. Thank you for bringing the nice sunshine to Liverpool. And I hope you're going to have a fabulous evening down at the waterfront, and if you're still with us tomorrow, exploring our various museums and the city. Thank you.